This is where the real genius comes into play. I can't take credit for this, although we told them the problems, but not the solution. Ryan and I are really good at going back to Jason and saying, Jason, we have some major problems here. And then Jason comes up with killer solutions for those problems. So one of the things is heavy winds and the tent sags. And we want to also be able to hang stuff in our teepee to dry it out. This is where this thing just really shines, okay? You take your trekking pole and you put it in this pocket like so, okay? And it's got a little pocket for the Peax handle, and the Peax tip goes in here. And we have tested this, beat the hell out of it, tried to ruin it, break it. Haven't done it yet, okay? Unlock that and you just stretch it out. See? Put tension up here in the peak of this teepee, okay? And do it over here with this one. And today, Brad and I are going to play around with this. We're going to see how much weight we can actually hang from these, what I call them the rafters. I think Peax has some other name for it, but you don't want to do that. Watch that carbon tip. But this is money, the way this is designed. Get this in here like so. Get your handle in. You notice you don't need this to set it up. These are optional, but it's such a sweet option. So I'm going to put tension here like so. Boom. Put some tension here, make it tight. Okay. Look at that. It is like so rigid. So rigid. All of a sudden, this whole structure has turned almost, it's so taut through here, you've turned it almost like into a freestanding type, Hilleberg type design. It's so sweet, okay? Now, when I'm in here like this, when the winds come and the rain comes, when the sil nylon, for example, really wants to stretch and kind of sag in, it doesn't, because you got guy outs here, here, and here, pulling on it. It's staked down tight. And then you have these up here that are making the top open. The whole structure has gained, I don't know, just a massive amount of rigidity. And when the wind comes and the snow falls and it hits it, it just it's like a castle. It just can take the wind, it can take the beating. But what's also great about it is when we get in here and we have wet clothing, wet boots and all of that, we can stack them in the rafters and we can hang so much gear off of this. I mean, I don't know how much gear we've hung up in there, but today we're going to put some weights in here and we're going to see how much weight this can take. See if we can, you know, rip it out or something. We'll see. But that's been a game changer. When you hang stuff from the other brands that are out there, if there's a spot to hang it, it sags the teepee walls in on you. And there's not that much room to hang it. It's usually a rope around the top or a rope tied across, and then the teepee sags in as the rope is there, pulling with the weight on it. So I would set up a tripod and another tripod, and we'd hang stuff between tripods, and then they take up floor space, and you try not to knock them down. Now we just put it up here, and there's nothing on the floor in your way, and you can hang your wet pants, your wet jacket, your wet socks, all that. You put your boots. We typically put our boots right here, sideways. And Brad, give me your shoe. And I take this and I take that boot and I put it up here like this, and boots are heavier. Sometimes we put them so the open part of the boot is facing the stove, and then we put our Graxaw boot dryers in there and we turn the fan on, and we'll put my boots here and then Brad's boots above them, and then all the heat from the teepee is going into the canopy, but it's not direct heat like right on the stove. It's ambient heat where it's really warm up there. You turn on a fan and it circulates air for one, but it gets hot air into that boot and it dries out in moments. So you can be in Alaska, crossing a river, boots fill up with water, throw up your Peax Solitude shelter, throw your boots in the top, get your stove cranking, and your stuff dries out lickety split. I mean, it's unbelievable. You can stay in the mountains way longer. A lot of people will say to us, look, it just won't work. The teepee just does not work on a hunt above alpine, a hunt in the rocks and the cliffs and so on. Ryan and I have started using teepees in 2016, like religiously, heavily, 2017, 2018. Look at all of our film, all the places we've been and all the hunts we've been on. We've been in mountain hunts. We've been in hunts where there's no wood. We've been on hunts where we've set up teepees on the peaks of ridges in windstorms and heavy winds. To this day, we have not set up anything except a teepee. Or some freestanding solo shelters we've done as well. Floorless. But the teepees we take in the late season. And we have yet to you have to be smart about how you set it up and where you set it up, but we'll never leave it behind. I'm watching my friends and I'm like, you still haven't figured out. I mean, so many guides and outfitters especially are like, yeah, that won't work. I've been going on tough hunts for years now. At the top of the mountain in the Southern Alps of New Zealand, to heavy windstorms in wilderness areas where it's -10. We've ridden out everything in a teepee. So this whole story about how a teepee can't handle that kind of environment, we've proven otherwise. That said, we are setting up these shelters in areas where we try to find a smart spot to put it. But the alternative is to leave it at home and bring a shelter with no fire capability, no stove capability. That's just not us. And like I said, we've been able to get that going. When we are watching the weather and we know that a huge rainstorm, snowstorm, blizzard, hurricane is coming, we go and we do stack logs or rock. We rock out our shelters. We put heavy rocks on all these stake points. That's part of the setup process. We will put logs around the shelter to block the wind toward the bottom, or even wind block. We built barricades around the shelter with logs, sawed up a few and set them up. It's a little extra work. It takes longer than a dome tent, but then we climb inside and for 10 or 12 hours during the storm, we have a fire going and we're warm and our stuff is dry while everyone else is hunkering down in a freestanding Hilleberg. I'm just beyond that. I don't see, we'll continue. We'll wait. We're trying to see where this shelter, design, the teepee just wets the bed and doesn't get the job done. I'm sure there's probably a hunt out there, a mountaineering K2 climb or something where this doesn't apply. But for hunters, it's hard for me to see a scenario where this doesn't work for hunters every time. Even if you have to drop down in elevation a touch, which we've never had to do actually, but even if you did, to me, it's worth it. Drop in the timberline. You have a stove, climb back up the next day, do a little bit of hunting. The fire and the stove in late season, I can't emphasize enough how valuable and important that is. So here you are with the design, with the rafters. Brad and I are going to do a little experiment and see how much weight we can put on these rafters. Brad, let's go grab some weights. All right, so I just added a 25-pound plate to the cross members and the trekking poles and another 25. So there's 50 pounds of weight hanging from these trekking poles in this teepee right now. And it feels solid. It feels like it can handle that. Brad and I are like, I don't want to push my teepee too far, snap a pole. This is more than enough. Like, I can't imagine. I mean, I have hung my backpack up here with some stuff in it when it's soaked. I've hung my boots. I've put my boots up here in this mesh and they kind of rest on the poles. I've put wet gear up there. I would probably venture to say we've had 30 pounds, maybe, Brad, of
30 and 40
and 40 pounds of weight up here. And we're just trying to show you right now, we've got 50 pounds hanging from these plates right now. Teepee's up here holding the load. You can even see, like, it almost keeps the teepee heavier so the wind can't move it. All that weight is distributed across all these anchor points. There are times where we have strapped a knot here to tighten this up just during the testing phase, to see how much weight this can take. The pole, all of it. It's a lot. It's a lot of load. Show me a teepee where you can hang 50 pounds of weight. up in here like this. And it doesn't just make the teepee fall in on you and cave. It's sweet. So there you have it. Here's our 50 pounds of weight hanging from the Peax rafters here off of these Sissy Sticks trekking poles, these elite trekking poles with the new cork handle, which is I've always wanted the cork handle in the Peax. I've always liked that. Some people don't. I love it. But anyway, there's our weight test for the Peax Solitude. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. What you guys just watched was a short clip of a 50-minute long podcast episode, number 806. If you'd like to watch the entire episode, click the link below. You can find it there. Thanks for tuning in, and stay gritty.